It's time for the Ag Queen Podcast. I'm your host, Lori Boyer. This podcast explores the agriculture industry with the movers and shakers of those that are shaping it. Today, I'm visiting with Steve Mercer. He is the Vice President of Communications with U.S. Wheat Associates, and we take a look at some of the markets that they have been working hard on here so far this year with regard to hard red winter wheat.
Yeah, we thought it would be a good time to kind of look back at the marketing year that just ended at the end of May, and tell your listeners, a little bit about the work that U.S. Wheat was doing, mainly in 2020 and into the beginning of this calendar year. And I thought we would focus on the three key markets for hard red winter wheat: Brazil, China, and Mexico. With Brazil is a growing opportunity for hard red winter. A couple of years ago, the government there opened up a tariff rate quota that allows the millers there to import wheat from outside of the South American trade agreement up to a certain amount without any tariffs. And so we really saw that as an opportunity. And our team down there, based in Chile, in Santiago, really ramped up the work in Brazil, and they started holding more and more meetings with buyers, the millers themselves, to help them understand how to use the U.S. system to get the most value from their hard red winter purchase, and then technical help, for those millers who may not have milled a lot of hard red winter wheat in the past. Typically, they're milling their own wheat and wheat from Argentina and blending it together. But hard red winter is a good substitute for that Argentine wheat. And the other opportunity we saw was to conduct for the first time a series of crop quality meetings last fall, explaining again the characteristics of last year's crop, and then we published those materials in Portuguese for the first time, and in fact did several videos of folks explaining those qualities, and did Portuguese translations as well. And then we look at China. China, a very interesting market for hard red winter. Occasionally had imported hard red winter in the past, but when the market opened up after the trade war ended and the agreement, the Phase 1 agreement was signed, hard red winter was attractively priced, and the government buyer there, COFCO, suddenly started purchasing a lot of hard red winter from the Gulf tributaries, which was unusual. They purchased over 1 million metric tons, which is 300 plus million bushels of hard red winter wheat, but not a lot of experience there for the millers and bakers using that wheat, and so they have to buy that wheat from COFCO, and COFCO has to sell it. We didn't want it to be feed wheat, and so our team there in Beijing sampled some of that wheat directly from a vessel that was arriving in China. They worked with our cooperators there to mill the wheat, to bake it into several different products, and evaluated the quality. And then they shared that information not only with the government buyers, but with millers and bakers. And then they held a separate seminar for millers on the milling qualities of hard red winter. And again, the goal there was to really avoid just having that put into storage. And if we can convince the millers and the bakers to pull that wheat out, then the government buyers are probably going to be a little more open to making it available for sale.
Steve, can I ask a question on China, especially
Sure.
in comparison to the United States? Are they large producers of hard red winter wheat or not?
They are. They are certainly the largest single country producing wheat in the world. Huge wheat crops. It is somewhat like hard red winter. I mean, it's a little bit between the soft red winter and the hard red winter in terms of protein, 11% maybe. And but I mean, the volume of demand is so high that we've actually calculated that if they imported what they're supposed to in their tariff-free quota, which is 9 million metric tons, they would still be 90% self-sufficient in wheat. So, yeah, big importers, or big producers, but they need the kind of wheat from the United States that helps them meet the demand for Western-type foods that's growing, and even Chinese-type food like steam breads.
Okay. Well, you just answered the second part of my question, is why would they be interested? So you covered it. Thank you.
Sure, good. Yeah. And the last market, our biggest market for hard red winter wheat is Mexico, of course. And 60% of the wheat that is imported by Mexico arrives directly by rail from the United States, from Colorado and Kansas and Oklahoma, et cetera. And, it's our biggest market, always has been, but we're not taking it for granted. One of the opportunities that we had through the Agricultural Trade Promotion Program was to do some studies about the Mexican market, specifically on rail transportation and some of the possible constraints on rail transportation, and then also on consumer trends. And it was a real interesting exercise because with rail, we identified that there are sometimes policy issues between the U.S. and Mexico government and shippers that are trading back and forth on the rail, and poor communications about some of the policies, particularly the way wheat is inspected and the information that they get out of that, and not understanding that. And so by doing that study, we're going to be able to focus on those key issues and really help the buyers there get, again, the most value out of their rail transportation for wheat. And the consumer trend study really was interesting because it showed that Mexico is going to continue to grow as a market for hard red winter because there's a growing demand for bread products. And clearly, they're not producing hard red winter wheat. They produce mainly durum wheat, and so they need that wheat. So, yeah, they can compete. They can get wheat from other locations, but, the proximity to the U.S., and if we continue to increase the value, then we're hopefully going to capture more and more of that market as it goes on. So it's a great relationship with our team based in Mexico City, with the millers and the milling industry and the baking industry, which is, of course, Bimbo, which is the biggest bread maker in the world, is based in Mexico City. So it's a great relationship, and our teams everywhere are really working to make sure that we continue to gain as much market share as possible.
And with regard to Mexico, what are some questions or what are some of the things that they are looking at in particular when it comes to wheat?
Yeah, definitely. They're looking at functionalities. So hard red winter is the largest market or type of wheat that they import. They're looking there, obviously, for great performance in their bread products. A lot of different bread products. You go to a store now, and the bread is all displayed, and people grab it by piece, and then it's weighed at the counter, and that's how people pay for it. And more, they're big box stores, so they're looking for higher protein, or I would say stronger protein, because they will par bake that at a central location, ship it to the retail store, and then they'll finish the bake there. So they need stronger doughs, and they also have a lot of frozen dough that they ship, so they need that strong dough from the United States. And so, if it's hard red winter alone or a blend with our hard red spring wheat, that's really ideal for them. There's also a growing market for cookies, crackers, etc., and of course that's going to benefit our soft red winter, which is grown in eastern Kansas and eastern Mississippi. So Mexico is an amazing, excellent market for us.
Well, we're out of time today. Good conversation. Thank you very much for the information.
My pleasure. Take care.
Steve Mercer, Vice President of Communications with U.S. Wheat Associates, my guest here today. I'm your host, Lori Boyer, and you've been listening to the Ag Queen Podcast.